Hey everyone, it's Nikki Kinzer.
And I'm Pete Wright.
If you've tried every planner, app, or productivity system and still feel overwhelmed, you're not alone.
That's right. We chase the next tool, hoping it'll finally click, but somehow things still slip through the cracks.
Exactly. That's what we call friction, the little bits of drag that make planning harder than it needs to be. And with ADHD, that friction can be the one thing that stops us from even getting started.
That's where our GPS guided planning sessions membership comes in. It's a supportive community of ADHDers who plan together in real time. Twice a week, we carve out time to focus, get organized, and actually feel ready for the week ahead.
No perfect systems, no pressure, just structure that fits your brain, not the other way around. Join us at takecontroladhd.com/GPS and let's plan with less friction and a lot more confidence. Enrollment closes on February 18th.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on True Story FM. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
This is a continuation of the last two episodes that we've been talking about as we waltz into 2026. And so we're going to be talking about what we need to do to let go of the "this year will be different" story that we sometimes tell ourselves. And I think this is an important conversation, and especially for those of us who might be carrying around a little bit of the OCD baggage and anxiety in addition with our best friend ADHD. I think this is...
Oh, I'm so glad you said it's your best friend. That's so nice.
Well, they're best friends. Sometimes I'm invited.
Sometimes you're invited. Okay.
Before we dig into the show, though, head over to takecontroladhd.com to get to know us a little bit better. Listen to the show on the website. Subscribe to the email list. We would love to have you there. And we are obviously on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and Blue Sky at Take Control ADHD. And Discord. Head over to Discord at takecontroladhd.com. That's where the community lives. That's where you can meet up with the people who are also doing their best to live their best lives with ADHD. And you should connect with them because they're very funny people and they make me smile every single day. If the show has ever helped you live better, live calmer, live more agreeably with your ADHD, we invite you to head over to patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. For a few dollars a month, you support us there, and we continue to invest in this show. You get access to the triple secret Discord channels. You get access to Coffee with Pete. That's right. I hang out once a month, and people can throw technical questions at me. It's really fun. And you can hang out with Coaching with Nikki, where you just throw ADHD questions at Nikki, and she just bats them right out of the park every single time. Every single time. Those are all things you can get when you join us through Patreon, patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. Nikki, okay, letting go of this year will be a different story. No. Letting go of, quote, "this year will be a different story," the story.
There you go. You read that kind of right. I get you, though. I understand.
If there was a way for me to say it differently, I hope somebody is making notes because I'll roll them all in. What do we set the stage for us? What are we talking about?
Right. Well, it's not even like this year is going to be different. It could be anything. It could be this notebook is going to make my life different. This podcast that I'm listening to is going to make, all of the changes that I need. And podcast is probably not a great example because we're a podcast and I hope you're listening for, inspiration. But anyway, you get this like big wave of motivation, whatever that is, right? Mm-hmm. But in a few weeks, the old patterns quietly return. And then there's this like emotional crash that comes where there's a lot of guilt, confusion, frustration, madness towards your ADHD and all of these things, right?
Madness, I tell you.
Yes. Well, and what's so interesting about this is that motivation that you had before fades, right? Because sometimes the system that you're building maybe wasn't necessarily the right system for your ADHD brain. Maybe it wasn't written for somebody with ADHD or wasn't talked about, with people that understand ADHD. And so I have a little story to share that I think will kind of make or help people understand or relate to this, what we're talking about, a little bit clearer. So we're in the middle of the declutter challenge, right? There was a question that was asked about how or why is it that I will get really motivated and I will completely organize my sock drawer and it'll be all like really nice and tidy and Marie Kondo-ish like and everything. But then in just a few weeks, it goes back to a big hot mess.
Yeah.
And that's so common, and that's the sock drawer. But think about that in broader terms, right? In anything that you have tried, and then it kind of comes back to where it was before. And I think that what's happening is we get excited about something and we mimic it, or we try to, make it ours, but it isn't something that we can maintain in the long term. So you get that little dopamine hit at the very beginning, right? You get that short term, yo, I did this, it looks great. But then the maintenance is just not reasonable. And then we feel bad about it because it's not the maintenance, not unreasonable. We're wrong. We did something wrong. And so that's part of what's happening here. So there's this sort of productivity trap that we live in, right? And we talked about this recently in one of my groups, is that there's this pressure of feeling like we have to be productive all the time. Every minute has to be productive. We're trained to measure our worth by what we output, what we do. But the cost of chasing that productivity without giving yourself any kind of buffer or recovery time is just so much exhaustion, guilt, all of these things of never feeling like you're enough, right? That all makes sense?
Well, yeah, because I mean, I think it's the gap where I live. The trap is the gap where I live between a very recent memory of some space and time before now and my aspiration of tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I never really sit here and recognize that gap, the gap trap is today and that right. I actually have agency over today. I'm too busy thinking about comparing what could be with what was and being sad about that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The muscle that we're building today is about recognizing when we're stuck in that trap. It's about mm-hmm. recognizing when we're stuck in that spiral, right? And when we need to just put the brakes on and recognize today is today. It's not tomorrow. It's not a promise that we've made to ourselves or others about time we have not earned yet. It is just right now. And what can we do today, free of judgment and guilt, to move ourselves forward?
Yeah, reframing there, right? And being like where you are right now. And I think that's the story that when we're talking about, oh, this is going to be different, we are moving away from that, is exactly what mm-hmm. you're saying, right? We're moving away from that when we're trying to make something different.
It's also the perils of resolutions, right? This is why we get in these naughty conversations with ourselves about what we resolve to change in January, and right. why we have often come out as sort of the antagonists to the story of resolutions. Mm-hmm. It's because they exemplify the gap trap. I don't know if that's going to stick, but it's fun to say.
The gap trap, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at this as like, here you are now, like this is where I am right now. My question is, what if the goal isn't to become someone new or to do something completely different, but to support the person that you already are? Mm-hmm. So what we're doing here is we're changing our focus from fixing really what is the wrong problem. We're trying to fix something that doesn't need to be fixed. So the core mm-hmm. question is, can you be okay with how long things can actually take? So let's say that I use that as the example because a lot of times people complain about how long things take them. Their ADHD, mm-hmm. it takes longer to process. It takes longer to think things through, make decisions, all of that. So what if we stop trying to fix, and I say that in quotations because I'm not trying to fix anybody, but let's say that we're not trying to fix how to make it easier for you to make decisions, or how can we get you to do this faster? We're
Mhm.
actually not looking at that as the problem anymore. We're looking at how can we be okay and have a level of acceptance that this is how long it is going to take me to do A. And how can I plan rest and recovery into that plan and not feel guilty around it being not productive time,
Mhm.
right? And so it is that shift, that mindset shift is I need to push harder to catch up, but actually what we need is more time and support, and that's okay.
Yeah, right. We
Is
need more.
leaning into that.
Yeah, I mean, and I want to make sure because I brought up, I'm not sure how long ago, but I brought up that this is my year of margin, right? Because I'm feeling personally like I'm running out of margin to adapt to change. That this is not margin, right? Because that would imply that you're going to eat into margin to make up your extra time. And that's not okay. We're talking about slowing down and backing out of the story of I have to push harder to catch up and use all my available sanity time and rest time and recovery time to do stuff that is 9 to 5, to do stuff that should really be done in the throughout the progress of a normal day. And I can make myself feel horrible about just that activity, the ABCs of a normal day. I can feel absolutely horrible about it. And that part's not okay. That part's not okay to carry that voice home with me and not finish my day to day work until 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, because I just needed to push harder to catch up. What we're saying is rewrite that story and recognize that the commitments that you make have to start with, I'm going to need more time for that. That you're not going to get today.
So that leads into us doing something that's really hard, and that's asking for help. And that's hard for anyone, period. Whether you have ADHD or not, when we're asking for help, we are being put into a very vulnerable situation. It's uncomfortable. We don't want to ask for it. We don't want to need it, but we're in that position where we do for whatever reason. With ADHD, it's magnified. Right. So, and that is because of all of these old stories, the fear of being too much for someone, being a burden. We were talking about over apologizing. We have a show coming out soon about why that is something that happens so often with ADHD. It's risky to ask for help because what if the person says no? And even if they have good reason to say no, and it's not personal, the person with ADHD is still going to have that RSD, that rejection sensitive dysphoria is going to still rear its head. It has to be me. I should have never asked. Right. So there's that fear. What if you want to ask, but you don't know how to ask because executive dysfunction gets in the way? I can't organize my thoughts. I know I want to ask for this help, but I'm not really sure who to help or who to ask or how to get it. And then there's that, that always that old belief that comes in. It says, I need to try harder. I should do this on my own. I'm going to keep doing it on my own and I'm not going to ask for help. All of that really makes sense when you start to think about why is it so hard for a person to ask for help when you start like really putting that together.
All of the symptoms that we're talking about, right? The self-judgment, the RSD, the shame, the guilt, all of that. I think the one that I want to make sure is there is just the straight up sadness, because sadness for me is a meta experience, right? Because it's like I'm stepping outside of my body and I'm watching this other person not being able to get his stuff done. And I'm looking at him and I'm feeling this overwhelming sense of just melancholy, of just sadness that guy is stuck in such a place of torment. And I think for me, I have to find a way to move through that experience of sadness in order to find what we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks, safety, in order to find that place of where I feel like the people who are counting on me and the people on whom I am counting help me feel safe and feel safe to work with me. to be with me, to comfort me, to receive comfort from me. And that is incredibly challenging to do. So I want to acknowledge that, because we're talking about a lot of very sharp feelings, a lot of very acute pain and emotional pain. And there is this other layer, this meta sadness that exists on top of it all. That's just like, it's the hopelessness that you may be living with that says you're never going to get this done and you're going to have to live with that. And that's what we're trying to rewrite, right? That's what we're trying to rewrite.
And part of that can be done, with that self-compassion, right? Holding yourself the way that you would hold a dear friend or someone that you really love, because you need that at that time. You need that most at that time when you're feeling sad. So one of the things that I wanted to help our audience was, I know it's hard to ask for help when you don't really know how to. And so we have a free download this week.
Oh my goodness, keep them coming.
How to ask for help without the guilt. Yay. There are a few different things here on the download. So please take a look at that and download that off of our show notes. But I want to talk about two of my favorite tips here on the show that I think can help people, maybe break through some of that shame or sadness that they're feeling when they need some extra help. One of the things that really resonated with me was redefine what help means to you. Help is not a rescue mission. You are not in the middle of the ocean waving your hands, and if you don't get help, you're going to drown or get bitten by a shark.
Good. That's
right?
So good.
Yeah.
I've never thought about it. I don't know why it strikes me as so funny, but I've never thought about it in those words, and it's kind of hysterical.
It's true though, right?
Yeah, there are no sharks. There's
no sharks. There's no octopuses that are going to put them around put you around their little legs or anything like that.
There is no giant squid.
No. So what you're doing is you're advocating for what works best for your brain. And we've talked about this before when we've talked about, do you tell people about your ADHD at work? Should I disclose it? And, I think the consensus has always been, you don't need to disclose it. You just tell people what you need and how you work best. And that's what we're doing, is we're advocating for ourselves. So I do best when I have clear timelines and visual check-ins. If you see that I'm overwhelmed, can you help me with a reminder? Or can you help me? My husband, bless his heart, we're doing the declutter challenge and he's doing it with me. And he asked me, can you help me go through this cupboard? If you help me, I know I'm going to be able to make the decisions easier and I will probably get rid of more stuff, which is true. So asking for that. I'm not falling behind. I'm pacing myself. It's taking a little bit longer than I expected. That's okay. Right. So I need some extra help. I asked Pete to do an outline for our next podcast. Hey, Pete, do you mind doing this? Happy to help. I could have done it. But I wanted some help, and so there's those things but you're not rescuing the podcast. We're doing good. We're doing okay.
It's just asking for help. That's right. There are no sharks in the podcast.
No,
unless y'all want some sharks, we will pander. But that's really it. And here's on the receiving end of that, right? This is. For me, it's an important reflection, and I have to say it out loud because sometimes I forget when I'm in a position where I need to ask for help, which is, I'm totally fine helping out to do this thing. And, I thought exactly nothing of it beyond, do I have the time and bandwidth to say yes to this request? If the answer is yes, it is easy and I moved on. Now, when I'm in the position of asking for help, I usually have a 120-page script that is working through all of the reasons you wouldn't want to help me. You would be judging me for even needing help, and you would be changing the tone and tenor of our relationship for years to come because you feel like I'm an empty husk, unable to even muster the barest flint of productivity moving forward through my day. That is so not true. Right? It was easy. And I need to say that. I think we all need to say that to ourselves a lot. What do I feel like when someone else asks me for help? I try to do my best to help them. That's what I have to expect from other people when I ask for help, or else I just get tied in knots.
Absolutely. And you know how we've been talking about the nervous system, right? In the last couple of shows, we've been talking about that safety place, and how do I get to that spot back, or how do I get back to that spot? So leads into my second favorite tip on this download, is that you regulate yourself before you ask. Because if you do have a lot of shame, if you have that fear of what they're thinking is spiking, for you at high levels, let's ground yourself first, right? Let's get that center, that nervous system center calm. Take a few breaths. Think about maybe what you want to say or how you want to ask for help. Like, writing. We've talked about this before too, as a little hack. Like, before you talk to somebody, bullet point like what you want to say. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. If that helps you feel more comfortable in the ask, is to be able to really be able to see that. And I think visualizing what is the outcome that you would like to have. When your nervous system feels safer, then asking becomes more possible. And we know that from what we've talked about in the past. We've got to get ourselves to feel safe to ask, which makes a big difference.
So as we get toward wrapping up, tell us about the small, like 8 a.m. Monday morning, the tiny things you can do for yourself every day to help encourage this shift in mindset, while not requiring yourself to be just completely fixed from day one.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite sayings, or I don't know if it's really a saying, but go into things with curiosity instead of judgment. And I think that really is important, right? So if you're going into the day and you're starting to feel whatever it is you're feeling, if it's overwhelm, fear, be curious about it. Don't judge it. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't take the blame, but be curious about it, and see where that takes you. Like, be that little kid again. Ask those why questions, and really try to, as we've been saying, reset that story, that mindset. Name your wins, even the small ones, which aren't small. That's the thing that's so mind-boggling to me, is I'll ask somebody to tell me what their successes are, and oh, I don't know, I don't really have any. And then they start listing like 10 things that they've already done this morning. Like, hello, like, there's so many wins in that. So really noticing, what you're doing right, being curious and not judgmental, and having that reset time, that buffer time, that recovery time. Listen to the things, or do the things that bring you joy, whether that's music or stepping outside, being with your friends, your family, your pets, all of those things that make us feel safe, right? That we've talked about. These are all anchors that we want to have, that will pull us back into, okay, I am safe. I can handle this. And I'm okay. I'm okay with who I am. And it doesn't have to be bigger and better.
Yeah, well, that's a really good point, especially as we wrap back around to the central sort of idea of this conversation, which is we're letting go of the this year being different mindset, because that doesn't serve us necessarily to move forward into whatever new reality is ahead of us, right? We don't have to live up to aspirations that we did not meet yesterday, nor do we have to live up to aspirations that we have not met today or tomorrow. Mm-hmm. We just have to do our very best in a given moment.
I love that.
That's good. I think this is really, this is stuff that, we've been doing the show for a long time, and this is still the stuff that I think about every day.
Yep.
Every day.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
Okay, everybody, Thank you so much for downloading and listening to the show. We sure appreciate you being here. We appreciate your time and your attention. Don't forget, if you have something to contribute to the conversation, we're heading over to the Show Talk channel in our Discord server, and you can join us right there by becoming a supporting member at the deluxe level or better at patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll see you right back here next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.
Hey everyone, it's Nikki Kinzer.
And I'm Pete Wright.
If you've tried every planner, app, or productivity system and still feel overwhelmed, you're not alone.
That's right. We chase the next tool, hoping it'll finally click, but somehow things still slip through the cracks.
Exactly. That's what we call friction, the little bits of drag that make planning harder than it needs to be. And with ADHD, that friction can be the one thing that stops us from even getting started.
That's where our GPS guided planning sessions membership comes in. It's a supportive community of ADHDers who plan together in real time. Twice a week, we carve out time to focus, get organized, and actually feel ready for the week ahead.
No perfect systems, no pressure, just structure that fits your brain, not the other way around. Join us at takecontroladhd.com/GPS and let's plan with less friction and a lot more confidence. Enrollment closes on February 18th.